all a bit of a rush here, last minute thing, trying to get the time lapse together and pull together some last minute data sources. But we're up and running, and this is just a little bit more time lapse here in the last 20 to 15 minutes here. So I'll let this run because this is probably almost the last we're going to see of the spiral bands of Harvey. So we're getting kind of this slingshot around the backside. This is a northerly flow coming in, and we had the temperature drop this morning, from this morning from like 83 down to 76 this afternoon. We've had rain falling into this, producing evaporational cooling, and as a result we're getting cooler temperatures. Just kind of admiring the view here since we're probably not going to be able to see anything like this tomorrow. I think it's going to probably clear out a little bit. So anyway, there we go. There's the last of Harvey. Yep, breaking out a little bit, but we're back to overcast right at this moment. Let me bring up that frame showing the outside view. And here it is. Here's the outside camera. All right, so anyway, enough of the time lapse. Let's take a look at the current chart. And let's see, do I have this camera set up right? I think it's a little bit low here. Okay, get a little bit more light. So you can see that this was definitely kind of a last minute rush here. So anyway, there we go. That's working a little bit better. So anyway, there's the inflow into Harvey. The yellow lines there showing the flow. And you can see that it's centered around the Monroe, Louisiana area. University of Louisiana at Monroe. They've got a meteorology program there. So there's probably a bunch of people there watching that as that moves through the area. Okay, and here's another look at it on the SPC mesoscale analysis. This is the high-resolution rapid refresh, or this is actually the rapid refresh model. So that's another look at the remains of Harvey now being picked up by the prevailing westerlies, and that'll move it northeastward gradually over the next couple days. So let's head to the polar orbiter imagery and see what it looks like. And there it is, pretty spectacular there, moving onshore. And you can see the dry flow moving around the west side and picking up, it looks like a little bit of smoke here, possibly coming out of British Columbia. Let's see, what's the source on that? Oh, good grief. Yeah, look at that, more wildfires. Looks like this is in Alberta. So this is kind of roughly what the province is like, and yeah, that looks like some serious problems there. I don't know if that's actually in Alberta or maybe if the smoke plume drifted over, but I'm sure somebody here in the webcast knows. But anyway, we're getting a bit of that, filtering all the way down to the Amarillo and Midland area, and even down almost to Oklahoma City there. Elsewhere, though, you can see the dry flow wrapping around the south side of Harvey, and yeah, let's go out here. I got to show you something else. A couple of easterly waves moving through the Jamaica area, also around Trinidad, Guadalupe right there. And then we go out a little bit further, and we've got ourselves a new storm. This is Irma. And this is interesting because you remember about 4 days ago, back on Friday, we had that 6-hour webcast, and I showed you some pictures of a typhoon in the Philippines. This was like probably the first major tropical storm I've been through, and let me bring it up here. Yeah, so I was showing you a bit of this damage. Coincidentally, this was Super Typhoon Irma that did this. So a little bit of a coincidence there. And yeah, there's our cat Blondie. Let's bring up the NHC panel and see what we got going on. So rapid development out there in the Atlantic. So there we've got Irma. Right now it's a tropical storm. Sustained winds 60 miles an hour, so it's getting up there towards hurricane level. Still pressure pretty high at 1,001 millibars, but of course that is dropping, and the movement is west at 15. And there's the projected movement, and that takes it into the danger zone. Basically, Puerto Rico, anytime we see movement into that region, that means we're going to be contending with that, very likely in the Gulf later on. So this is kind of a ominous trajectory. If we don't want effects here in the U.S., we do want to see this moving more north. So what is the ultimate movement of this? Let's take a look at the dynamical and statistical models. And I haven't gone through the full range of models, but let me bring this up and we'll take a look at it. Tropical storm Irma. Okay, there we go. We just have to pan around and let me set this up so north is up. Let's see if the grid lines help a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay, so there's our look at what Irma is doing, and it's showing most of the models we have available. I can't seem to get that right where I want it. Pulled it out just a little bit. Okay, there we go. So yeah, very good agreement with the models, showing a slight north trend and then bringing everything to the west-southwest towards the islands there. So the only outliers, I just want to make sure the European model is not in here. Nothing like that. So yeah, these are just ensemble members. Which one is this one here? Having trouble bringing it up. Okay. Yeah, those are just ensemble members. So we can pretty much expect Irma to strengthen and move within this band. So how much strengthening? There's a look at the forecast intensities there from the early cycle models, 18Z, and some of them showing very rapid intensification into Cat 1, Cat 2 within just 36 hours. Others a little bit less optimistic there, going for more of a tropical storm. Let's see, so that's going to include the Canadian model for the weak side. Canadian model, COAMPS 5, UK Met GFS tracker. Then on the high side, we're looking at, let's see, the HWRF, the Hurricane WRF there. SHIPS, which is a statistical model. HMNI, I'm not really familiar with that one. Let me take a look. HMNI, that's going to be the, I don't think I have it in the list here. Okay, so that's something new there. And there's the official forecast, OFCI. That's going to be this gray line, just going with a very gradual intensification through Cat 1 over the next 2 to 4 days there. By the way, if you want this document, I've got this online for you, and here's where you can go to get it. Let me find my browser here. It's going to be under weathergraphics.com/hurricane models-models.rtf. So that's a rich text file, and you just save that to your desktop there, and you'll have this all listed out. and it's kind of different from a lot of the other lists because it differentiates between dynamical models, statistical models, blended models, and so on. So hopefully that should help out some of you there. Okay, let's get back on track, and I'm going to take a look at chat, make sure our audio levels are good. And let's see here. Okay, so there's our convective outlook view. Slight risk areas on the northeast side of Harvey as it moves inland. A little bit of an enhanced shear in that area, and the convective bands moving inland right there. And before I break off the chat, let me bring you up some satellite data. Get these panels going here. And I think visible imagery is always a good one to look at, so let me bring that up. Yeah, we're definitely getting into the fall here. You can see that terminator line getting further and further west as we lose daylight. So we're going to be coming up on fall here in about 3 weeks. Okay, let's see here. We have something kind of weird going on with the visible imagery. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I made a error here. Let's bring that back up, and we should be good to go here. Okay, loading up the frames. Let me blank out the later ones because that's going to be nighttime frames. We don't want to see that. Okay, so we're good here. So now we can get a good look at Harvey there coming on shore, moving in through Louisiana and Mississippi there. And you can see some of the stronger convective elements over Mississippi at this time. Looks like a pretty good anvil right there around the Tunica area. And then some other cells all the way back down to the southeast. Okay, let's see here. Got quite a bit of discussion in the chat. Carl Berghoff is here. Ryan got a heat index of 102 there. And all sights on Irma. Kevin McKinney saying Irma looks like bad news. Definitely agree. Fun with Tech is here. Burl H. Yeah, YouTube did get a makeover, didn't they? Ron Chalfant, more hot weather for Southern California. A few pop-up thunderstorms in that region. San Bernardino, 110 degrees. Alexi Walsh joining us. Ready for the battle of nature lurking on the horizon. Kevin McKinney mentioning East Tennessee, looking at a tornado threat from Harvey, passing to the west. Sue M is here, looking for a change in weather as Harvey makes its way up there. Megan John up there in Minnesota with 68 degrees, 55 in northern Wisconsin. Wow. 85 in Killeen, and yeah, we've got 76.3 here. Irma, Carl says Irma grew pretty quick today from a potential cyclone to a tropical storm with 60-mile-an-hour winds in about 8 hours. And Ray Woody, yeah, good evening there. Welcome to the webcast. Ryan Toomey's looking for much more rain coming in for Houston Sunday and Monday. Carl says models have been all over about where it goes. Some members bring it over Georgia. We're looking at the long term here. So, yeah, we'll look at that a little bit later. Mary Walsh is here. Ryan says we're going to be on our toes the next 10 days with Irma. Yep, the nuclear storm breeding ground, danger zone. Clear and warm in northern Indiana, where Sarah Wood is. Got up to 78 degrees this afternoon. All clear with the audio and video from Ryan there. Alex Front joining us. Alex Front says, congratulations, Tim, on 10,000 views on the Harvey special. Wow, I haven't even looked at that. That's great news to me. So, yeah, thank you all very much. And hopefully there's not going to be another 10,000 coming up here, but I don't know. It's starting to look like maybe we're going to have our hands full here in about a week. The satellite feed from Veo Joe, this is Marshall Space Flight Center, msfc.nasa.gov. Mary Walsh mentioning it's been 95 to 100 since the 1st of June. And Andrew Hotchkiss saw some lake effect showers in northwestern Pennsylvania this evening. All right. Yeah, it looks like we're pulling down a little bit of that smoke here. You can see that on the visible imagery right there. And let's check out the water vapor. Very distinct plume of dry air coming around the backside. Wow, look at that. That's let's see if we can zoom that in just a little bit. Yeah, so as these tropical storms make landfall, they're ultimately always going to pull in dry air from the continental regions, and that's just what we've got here. Dry air coming around the backside, source region up there in Canada, and it's wrapped all the way around the east side there. And we're getting the opposite here in northeast Texas, the moisture and some of the symmetric instability on the north side there. All right, let's check out the dynamics here and look at the thickness and isobars. And we're not going to see a whole lot around Harvey, although it does look like it is getting a little bit baroclinic here. You can see it's pulling down some cooler thickness lines from the north. So it's taken on kind of a very weak frontal characteristic there as it moves inland. We've got this baroclinic high across Ontario, bringing cold air down through the Great Lakes. Quite a push of cold air advection coming into the Lake Huron and lower Ontario and Quebec area. Looks like the remains of Tropical Depression 10 there, moving offshore. That's definitely baroclinic there. So there's the fronts for that. There's the cold pool there. And then on the other side, looks like we got a little bit of warm air, actually a substantial amount of warm air advection in the Northwest Territories out in this area here. So that's going to be building a ridge up in that region. And looks like we got a little bit of cold air coming into British Columbia, maybe a bit of a front out in that area right there. Okay, so that's kind of the big picture there. Basically cold polar high moving through the Great Lakes area, and that'll continue pushing southeast there, and gradually we're going to get back into a southerly flow pattern here in the central U.S. But wow, man, look at these thickness lines way up at the top near Alaska. 540 is what we need for snow and wintry weather. So 540, that's going to be this first blue line here. And you can see we've got some even colder weather stacked up back further to the north. So definitely getting cold there over the ice pack. Let's see just exactly where the core of the polar air is. And we're going to go to Karsten Hostein's site, a good place to look at for temperature anomaly. And let's look at the global picture. Basically where it's red, temperatures are above normal. So you can definitely see there in British Columbia, Alberta, and Northwest Territories, very warm there. And then Alaska, very cold. Looks like the core of the polar air is pretty much right in Alaska itself right there. Let me see if we have a hemispheric pattern or hemispheric plot. I think we do. Oops. Accidentally clicked on Antarctica. Yeah, we'll look at Antarctica. Looks colder than normal there. So they're coming out of the austral winter there. But as far as the North Pole, let's take a look at that and see how things are. And there you can see high pressure dominating the polar ice pack right there. And this side right here, this is all the cold air advection coming in from the ice pack. North Pole located about right here. So some of that wintry weather coming right into Alaska right there, and then the leading edge of the cold front kind of in this area right here. And temperatures above normal there in Siberia. I kind of expected that to be a little bit colder than normal, but apparently that's not the case. Okay, let's head into some more of the data, and I did want to show you the precip totals. This was brought to my attention by one of the viewers. Let me see if they're on. My memory's a bit bad. Arakiel, or I think that's the name, brought this to my attention, and I'm going to bring up AirPlay. Apparently, WeatherScope has managed to map these precipitation amounts pretty well. And this is, where's my, hang on a second. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Let me bring this up on the AirPlay. Okay, so this will show you what we're talking about here. So we're looking at storm total precipitation. This is the can't seem to get that to shrink. That's the Beaumont radar. Okay, so I guess we'll just have to deal with that. Anyway, I don't know if you can see that figure on there, but we're seeing a lot of 45-inch amounts. This is going to be just east of Houston, and we see right in the Beaumont area there, looks like 47, 48 inches from the Lake Charles radar. And then we have this big purple area around, which is totals of 20 inches and above. And then the yellows are going to be roughly about 32 inches and above. So quite a bit of precip there. And let me see if I can bring up one of the other radars. I'm going to bring up the Fort Polk radar. And this is kind of confirming the very high precip amounts, although it's got it more in the ballpark of about 32, 33 inches, but the same area right there around Beaumont. And I think Houston has been down. They had a motor issue with their radar. I don't know exactly when it went down, but that's probably affected the readings. But yeah, they're also showing about 36 inches around the Beaumont area. And then the big purple area, that's going to be 20 inches and above. So that area has been pretty hard hit from Houston eastward to Beaumont, Orange, and up to the Lake Sabine area, or Sabine River region. Okay, so that's a little bit of radar scope. And before all this craziness with the eclipse and the hurricane, I had been talking about bringing one of the radar scope developers on, and hopefully we'll get to do that here in September. So they're going to be on here. They just wanted to know when, and we're going to have to get back there and talk to them and see if we can get that going. Okay, so let's see here. Where are we at? I guess we'll look at the short-term forecast. This is the high-resolution rapid refresh model, and I'll get myself out of the way here. And there's Harvey there. And I think the verification is probably a little bit further ahead. System probably moving a little faster than forecast. And you can see the wraparound precip right there on the west side. And then by tomorrow morning about dawn, we'll see that crossing over into Arkansas. So we'll segue over to the NAM. Let me see if I can shrink that down a bit, and you can see the legend. There we go. Okay, so for tomorrow morning, things will be moving into Arkansas. Some of the spiral bands moving into Tennessee. And then by tomorrow night, when we do the webcast, it's going to be Thursday night, and the system will be moving into the Memphis area. A lot of precip bands spiraling around from Nashville up to around Fort Campbell, across the boot heel of Missouri, and then down towards Memphis there. And then for Friday, we're going to see that moving up to Ohio. That's pretty much on track with what the European model had forecasted. Very good agreement with the models as far as that goes, and pretty much heading into Ohio there and some of the southern parts of Indiana, getting some of the precip there. The dominant feature, however, is this big high pressure area. So basically our remains of Harvey are just moving into that, around that, just kind of a large area of weak cold air advection. And then we've got a little bit of warm air advection around the other side. And then we've got what looks like our next frontal system moving south, and there it is, coming down into Montana and the Dakotas. And then for Saturday, we move forward, and Harvey is just about done. Where did it go? Yeah, there it is. It crossed over the Appalachians and emerging there into the Maryland and southern Pennsylvania area. And looks like it's become a little bit baroclinic there, developing some frontal characteristics there. A little bit of high pressure in its wake. And then this area here, this is where most of the warm air advection has taken place. The front that we were seeing dropped down. Let's see, where did that go? Yeah, it looks like we've had a bit of frontalysis there. Maybe a little bit of a weak frontal boundary in this area. We can definitely see the thickness gradient, but there's just not any real troughing to support that front. I guess it's located probably somewhere in there. But anyway, the thickness gradient is in place. So we're just waiting on the next system. And meanwhile, look at this. We've got a system coming up into the Gulf of California. And let's see where that came from. That one went right up Baja California. And let me go back to the NHC plots, and have to go out into the eastern North Pacific for that one. That's going to be Lydia. Okay, remains of Lydia. And that's a name from Skyrim. I don't know how many gamers there are here, but Lydia, that was one of my assistants there when I was playing Skyrim there. One of those NPCs. Anyway, so yeah, tropical storm. NHT has got the plot moving right up and then curving to the west. and NAM has got that moving a little bit more easterly, and what this is going to mean, probably a lot of mid and upper level moisture moving eastward across Arizona, Tucson. Depending on the flow, this could bring quite a bit of precipitable water inland, so we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that as we get into the beginning of next week. And then up to the north on Saturday night, there's the next frontal system starting to emerge. So that's what's going to sweep southward early next week. So let's see the European model take on this. So here comes the picture for the next 10 days or so. So European model has got pretty good agreement with the system moving into Ohio by Saturday morning. And then we come under the influence of this upper level, or this large surface low in Canada. And then we start to see the next frontal system moving out of Alberta right there. So we're going to see some anti-cyclogenesis out in Alberta. Oh yeah, there's Lydia. So this is going more with the NHC path, taking that westward. Okay, and here comes that big high coming out of Canada, big 1030 millibar high on Monday morning. Leading edge of the front coming through Kansas. And probably the warm front, something like, maybe something like this. So that's going to be the picture for Monday morning. And then for Tuesday, cold air definitely moving southward into the southern plains. 1030 millibar high, looks like a lot of gusty winds, cold air, and maybe a bit of dust back in the wake of that. And then for Wednesday, that'll plow right southward, and you can see that the highest pressures in Colorado. So instead of having a southeastward movement taking all the cold air to the northeast U.S., that's going to bring the bulk of the cold air right down the plains into Texas and Oklahoma, Kansas and Arkansas. So I think if the European model pans out, we're going to get quite a cool down here in Texas around the 6th and 7th. So that'll be something to look forward to. A little bit of upslope flow there in New Mexico means probably some showers and storms there in New Mexico. Depends exactly where the moisture is, but that'll be a zone we'll have to watch there for active weather. And then we're looking out to the south there in the western Gulf. Something could pop up in that region. Yep, European model going for a little bit of development, but looks like the bulk of the cold air is so strong, it's keeping that well to the south. So that may not even be in the picture there. So by the time we get up to Thursday next week, looks like a lot of cool air covering the U.S., and look at that, it's even punching down into Mexico there. So very unseasonably cool outbreak. And I don't think I've really seen anything like that this early in the season. And here comes the deterministic European model forecast for the next hurricane. Let me scroll down so you can see that. Yeah, there it is right there. European model taking that up through the Bahamas. And that's the last frame we have, so it's got a northwest track on that. So that's going to be Bahamas, maybe east coast of Florida, and maybe the Carolinas there. So if I was in the Carolinas, seeing how accurate the European model has been over the past week or two, I would probably start taking some precautions now rather than waiting for things to go downhill next week. Okay, then the GFS forecast. Let's look at that. Yeah, where is my GFS panel? I guess we'll go with that. This is the dew points, and and the wind field and pressure. So there goes the remains of Harvey northeastward, taking it up into Ohio, just like the other models are doing. You can see the cold air, or the dry air, coming southward through the Midwest, and you can also see the return to southerly flow in the Great Plains there. So kind of a quiet pattern here for the rest of the remainder of the week. And then we see a little bit of that troughing there in the southern Gulf, tropical depression coming together. And then here comes that next outbreak of cool air coming south on Monday. And that'll blast southward Tuesday and Wednesday, coming all the way down into Texas. And you can see how it just shoves that moisture right out. Moisture's pretty much gone by Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be kind of a cool period there. There's the high pressure there in the Midwest on Friday. Going into Friday, Thursday to Friday, 7th through the 8th right there. And then here's the deterministic GFS forecast going very far east with that hurricane. And it looks like that's, according to this GFS run, that's going to not really be a factor for anything except along the Cape Cod area and off the Maine coast. But let's look at the ensembles and just see what kind of solutions we're getting. This is pretty far out, so at this point we just don't really know. Okay, precipitation products. Okay, here we are coming up, and I'm going to run this up to sometime next week. Maybe around the 6th or 7th. Maybe a little bit further. Yeah, here we go. See, we can see a bunch of different solutions here. Looks definitely very active in the Gulf. You can see we've got one solution right here with a system coming up into Texas. See that bit of a tropical depression there along the coast. The second ensemble has it affecting mostly the South Texas area, and then it brings Irma into the Florida area, just grazing the Bahamas, looks like. This one looks like it nails Florida. Yep. So that's almost like a Hurricane Andrew scenario. Ensemble number 4 takes it up into the Cape Cod area. Run number 5 doesn't do anything with either system. I guess it keeps them pretty far out. Yeah, it keeps things very far east. And just very quickly going through the rest of them. Looks like quite a few of them keep the system to the east. And we can see this one looks pretty ominous. Landfall around Georgia. We've also got a landfall in the Carolinas right here. So we've got enough potential solutions affecting the East Coast to where this is definitely of concern. I'm looking to see if Irma is going to go in the Gulf or not. And out of these 20 solutions, I don't think I really see anything going into the Gulf. Yeah, this is mostly an East Coast system, at least at this stage. And maybe a little bit of an impact from that West Gulf system on a couple of the charts. Where did I see that? Yeah, it was probably somewhere around here. A couple of them looking for a little bit of development there late in the period along the Texas coast. But anyway, we'll just have to keep monitoring it. And European looking a little bit more pessimistic there, bringing the system close to the Carolinas, but we'll just have to wait and see. Still pretty early. All right. So That's probably about all I have. Let me take a quick look at the chat here. Got a lot of discussion in here. So Ryan says, was that 56-inch total rainfall confirmed in Dickinson County? I don't know. I didn't hear about that. I do know around Liberty County up there, northeast of Houston, they were getting really hammered there a few days ago. 10,204 views on the Harvey coverage. That's good to hear. Carl Berghoff playing Madden 08 on occasion. About the only thing that I play lately is Grand Theft Auto every now and then. Carl Berghoff he also plays guitar and writes music. And I appreciate the offer there. Sarah Wood saw one of the videos playing GTA. Yeah, I had the Tornado mod on. I took it off. I think I had some problems with my installation there. Yesterday, Carl working on a Super Bowl mod for Madden 08. And Ryan saying we got the Labor Day weekend coming up. Yeah, that's true. And Irma, if it hits Houston, he's driving, Andrew Hotchkiss driving down from Pennsylvania to help. Well, so far it looks like Irma will probably stay out of the Gulf there, but you know how these things could change. And also, yeah, that movement right there, that was a little bit ominous, jogging Irma kind of the west-southwest. So there's kind of an outside chance that could still come up across Cuba, Haiti, into the Gulf. But like I said, for now, the deterministic solutions there, and the ensembles kind of keeping the impact there on the East Coast, and some of them keeping it offshore completely. So we'll just have to see. Anyway, that's about all I got for today. Thanks for watching the webcast, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Take care and have a good evening.